Yeah. Oops. There we go.
And I quote, "I'll be there in a minute. Give me a second."
Time is relative, folks. Time is relative.
Yes. So hey, cheers to everybody in the chat.
They're a division rival. I don't care how many wins they get. Screw them.
That wasn't the take I was expecting to hear.
I want to gush over watching live Chris Tanev.
I think that we completely underestimate the skill it takes to play defense.
One highlight or several highlights does not a Calder trophy make.
I'm stepping in here. I'm going to be the crotchety old man here. They need to learn patience. They need to understand the tension, everything, and the drama.
How dare! Look at this. How is McDavid not getting a penalty?
You guys need to calm down with this, okay? You guys need to calm down with it.
Tyler, we will not calm down of anything, as there is a little bit of optimism in the air in Calgary. And welcome to the Shifts and Pucks podcast here on this fine Thursday night. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com Shifts and Pucks. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as we are here. And first, let's say hello to the one and only Devin Holmes-Smith back. How are you doing?
It's been a busy fall, Kev. I haven't watched enough hockey for me to really get my fix. So I'm excited to kind of settle down here and just get into my groove and be able to watch some hockey. And it was a fun game tonight for sure.
It was a fun game. And not only that, Devin, there's some very unfortunate other news, it's very unfortunate that the Edmonton Oilers lost. What the heck is this? Hang on here. Hang on. Whatever the heck this is. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. It is very unfortunate that the Oilers and the Canucks lost tonight. I mean, that's just, I'm sure, saddens your heart as well that both of those teams lost tonight as well.
It's breaking, it's melting, it's all the negative things that you could do with your heart, I guess. It's very interesting to see how Edmonton has not really stood up to their potential and what all the critics and analysts have said on the way that this season is supposed to go so far, and the fact that they've only had one win in 4 games. That is significant, and some Oilers fans and other people are probably pressing the panic button here, but it's still early. But being a Flames fan, I'm pretty happy to see both those teams kind of a little flail a little bit, because Canucks came out to a hot 2-0 start against the Oilers, and now they're 2-2. So Rick Talk is definitely not happy, and I know Jay Woodcroft is not happy up in Edmonton as well. So yeah, we'll as Flames fans, we'll take the wins when we can.
Yes. So, because the Flames do, we'll get to the good and the bad and kind of what we're seeing right now, but the Flames do have points in 3 of their first 5 games. The Canucks fall to 2-2. The Oilers are 1-3. And even the other team that I think I thought was going to be in this little battle from the Pacific for that second, third spot was the Kraken, and they are not off to a good start either. So if you're from a Flames perspective, getting points at it in basically only one game that you did not get a point with, like 2-1-1, Yeah, so you get points in 3 out of your first 4 games. That's a good start. You're off to a good start. So we'll start with, of course, tonight they beat the Buffalo Sabres 4-3, and we'll kind of get through this game and kind of build. I think this will help build us a little bit to what we're seeing. And I'll start with. Let's start with, I think, the good, and I'm going to start, Devin, with Jonathan Huberdeau. This guy has had no question, he had a rough year last year. I think we all know that. But I think he has been, if not the top, one of the 3 best forwards for the Flames so far this year. I thought he was really strong tonight. I mean, he blocked a shot late. He got the goal early. I thought he was kind of all around it. It doesn't look like Johnny, and I say Johnny Gaudreau. It's not as dynamic, but I think that Jonathan Huberdeau is off to a good start for the Flames.
It has to be very positive if you're a Flames fan looking at the Jonathan Huberdeau from last year to this year. He looks like he has more confidence. It looks like he's not second guessing himself. He's putting pucks on net when he's supposed to as well. Because last year, when he had a clear shot, he was always looking for that extra one more pass or trying to pass it between 2 or 3 different defenders. So overall, yeah, I'm with you. It's very positive first 4 games, and hopefully he continues on this trend. There's been a lot of talk on whether or not Lindholm is the right center for him, and it's one of those ones where I think you just gotta keep on grinding away to see if it's going to fit, and if it's not going to be fitting within within the first 20 games. Then yeah, you got to figure out a different spot for him. But it does seem like they are kind of getting more chemistry, and they're able to be a good pairing overall. The biggest question would be, okay, who's going to be the solidified top right winger on that line? But yeah, to your point, Kev, overall you have to be happy with how Huberdeau's playing, and yeah, he is making those plays within the neutral zone and the offensive zone that you really want from a player that is being paid $10+ million a year, and B on that top line.
Yeah. What do you think of Mangiapane on that top line?
I don't mind it. I think he brings a lot of different aspects to it. I think it's more so, if you think Mangiapane is that player that's supposed to be on that top line, give him some time to solidify himself and create that chemistry with Huberdeau and Lindholm. He's a tenacious player. I think he could be one of those puck retrieval type of players to distribute to either Lindholm or Huberdeau for them to make the play. And I mean, he has shown in the past that he can put up points and he can score goals. So I don't see why not he'd be able to take that next step potentially to be on that top line. Otherwise, you're looking at a Dubé or potentially a Coronado. And I don't think you want to put that pressure on a rookie in Coronado. You kind of want to shelter him a bit more than put him on that top line, as probably the majority of people or fans really want to happen. But you really have to make sure that you are protecting those younger players. So I think it's a toss-up between Dubé or Mangiapane, or even Sharon Govich. I've been pretty impressed with his defensive play, and there was that one shootout that he did last game in Washington. He rang that off the bar. And I've seen little bits and pieces of him, and I want to gush about him a bit later on. But I think that once he gets settled into being in a new market, surrounded by his new teammates, and kind of similar to what Huberdeau and Uyghur went through last year, just trying to figure out this a new team, a new city, and especially for him, his English isn't 100% there, so connecting within his teammates might be a bit harder. But I've been pretty impressed with Sharangovich, and he could potentially be on that top line right wing as well.
Yeah, I feel like Huberdeau and Mangiapane are developing some sort of chemistry. Like Huberdeau wants to pass it to Mangiapane. Like it just they are throwing the puck around a little bit, which is good, but I think they throw it around a little bit too much.
Yeah.
I'd like for one of them to decide to shoot at some point, but they are developing a chemistry. I thought of the idea of Coronado because of his shot, but I think keeping him as close to Backlund and Coleman as possible is probably, if you're going to keep him up, is the best place for Backlund. The other guy that I could see when he comes back is Jacob Pelche. I could see Jacob Pelche up with Lindholm and Huberdeau because of Huberdeau's and Pelche's pal buddy system, bromance, camaraderie, all of those things. I could see Pelche up there as well. And I could see Sharangovich up there as well. I think you're right. He has a really good shot. That fourth line with Yegor and Walker Duehr and first of all, like AJ Greer is everything we wanted Milan Lucic to be. Like he's all over the ice. He creates problems. He's a good skater. I don't know if I'm super enamored with all of their defensive play, but it's like they've been the Flames' best line so far for the last 2-3 games anyway.
Definitely the most consistent.
Yeah. And so I really like they put the pressure on. It seems to work. I mean, Sharangovich had a couple of really good chances tonight. And, in our chats, Sean and I always have some sort of argument. And one that we've argued about is Walker Duehr. And I am firmly of the belief, Devin, Walker Duehr can score 20 goals. Walker Duehr is legit. He is like, I think he's like when someone tossed, it was Greg Millen, I think, that tossed the idea that he's Zach Hyman. It just makes sense. He is. I just continue to be impressed with Walker Duehr night in, night out. I am so convinced that this was found money for the Flames. He's so good.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with him. I think it's one of those ones where at the very peak of his career, he could be a 20-goal scorer, given the right opportunity. Imagine him, Kadri, along with, I don't know, a Dubé or even a Ruzicka, I guess. I think that he does have that potential. And I would like, even if you put him on that top line to crash and bang, and hopefully he just doesn't get in his head about where what line he's on. Just as long as he keeps his game in mind and he's able to just get that puck back, puck retrieval, and distribute it to the top end players. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility here within the Walker Duehr, because yeah, I think he has that makeup of a Zach Hyman, as you just mentioned. Maybe like a Zach Hyman, point or a B or C, but
Zach
either way,
Hyman light.
Yeah, light. There you go. Yeah.
I really, really like what this guy brings. And the other forward I wanted to just gush a little bit about. Do you know who is a point a game per player right now for the Flames?
Mr. Consistent. Who's being consistent?
The leading point getter for the Flames right now is the very horrible Elias Lindholm. I mean, with 5 points in 4 games.
Oh, Elias. Sorry. I thought you were talking about Ruzicka.
Adam Ruzicka is a point per game player. He is 4 points in 4 games for the Flames. And I don't think he's been particularly super consistent, but when he is on, he is on.
Yeah, he's definitely impressed within this first 4 games. Once again, his whole criticism is that when he's on, he's a really good player, but when he's completely off his game, you can barely even notice him on the ice, especially with those bigger type of minutes and the way that he is playing with Nazem Kadri. It's hard to not notice him. and that's a big thing for Adam Zizka within his 2.5 to 3 years playing in the NHL. But please tell me about Lindholm.
Well, I mean, it's just, I mean, everyone thinks he's just so horrible. Like, he's not a top tier center, Devin. Like, Connor Bedard has played 3 games and he's already better than Elias Lindholm. Like, just I just get so annoyed with the conversation around Elias Lindholm. It's ridiculously frustrating to me. And he consistently just goes out there and puts in a yeoman's effort work again and again and again. And I don't think that this fan base is ever going to truly appreciate what Elias Lindholm is, because he wants a bunch of money, and I think that they're just so fixated on why we're giving potentially $9 million for him. And I to me, like, you look at last year when the Flames won, he was a point a game player. When they lost, he wasn't, and I think he just had so many things going against him. I mean, he lost 2 line mates, Gaudreau and Tkachuk. He had to figure out 2 other line mates and then 2 more line mates again. I think he just was trying to figure out his game throughout the entire year. And I think now this year, I think we could see the 80-point Elias Lindholm, the 80-point Elias Lindholm that we know and love.
I hope so, for just this year Flames' sake, that we're able to really see that as well. Because I'm as the whole thing I think behind it, Kev, is that people are realizing that, okay, he is if he's going to sign this deal, it's going to take him to the late 30s. And it doesn't mean that he's not going to be a good player at $9 million for the majority of that contract, or at least for even 3/4 of that contract. So I think that the way that he plays, he's a smart player. He's not that overly physical, but he's able to put up points, be a playmaker, and be that defensive center that you really want to kind of build your team around. And we're talking about as Zach Hyman light. I think that he is a Patrice Bergeron light, and he can bring that defensive game to the Flames. And if you really want to make sure, okay, within his last half or even third of his contract, if he does sign that 8-year contract with Calgary, that he is just strictly focused on the defensive game instead of being kind of a Selke type of guy who puts up the points and has that defensive game. I think that he should be able to thrive within that. So I think that's where the Flames fans are really kind of torn between praising him. And it's funny because there's been a few people who I talked to who are Flames fans, and they're like, well, stop talking about it because the Flames, what if you talk about it more, the Flames are going to know. The Flames know exactly who this player is. And within that, 8 to 9 over, just a shade over $9 million player for the next 8 years. It's not a overpay and it's not an underpay, especially with the cap going up, but it does scare Flames fans to pay a guy in his 30s that type of money for a long time, as we also have Kadri, Huberdeau, and Uyghur locked up long term as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, I get that part of it, and I like if it were me, I wouldn't go 8 years on anybody, but it's kind of the way that it is, and I feel like that, like I feel like the ones that are. There's that section of people that are like, I'm not sure I want to pay $9 million. I get it. I'm not mad at them. I'm more mad at the people that are like completely underrated the value that Elias Lindholm brings to the team.
Fair.
Because it's not always like, if you're going to compare Lindholm to a McKinnon, McDavid, or a Pedersen or one of those, like that's not a really, he's not a generational type. He's not that type of player, and he never will be. He'll never be 100-point player. But what he is he's a guy that can play a really good all-round game, and those type of all-round centers win you Stanley Cups. So That's kind of where I'm at. And I'm not saying that the Flames are on their way with a cup just because they have Elias Lindholm, but they're in better shape with Elias Lindholm than they are without.
Yeah, and if you look at the past 5 years, you have Ryan O'Reilly. Well, in maybe not even 5 years, but you have a Ryan O'Reilly who's the defensive center. You have Patrice Bergeron, who's the defensive center, who is both of them are your top tier or top line centers. And I mean, Tampa Bay Lightning are in the league of their own as far as their offensive talent. You can't really compare their top six to many others within the league, right? As far as trying to see what the comparison is to Elias Lindholm, and very similar to the Washington Capitals as well. So, I mean, the Vegas Golden Knights last year. Each team has their own kind of makeup, and if the Flames are going to be successful, especially within having Uyghur, Kadri, Huberdeau, and even Backlund locked up for the next few years, then Elias Lindholm needs to be a part of that as well if you want to be a contender.
Yeah, for sure. Within the forward group, anything else that you're impressed with, or not impressed with, or anything else or do we want to go to the concerns?
No, I want to give some praise to Sharangovich. And there's a lot of people who are hung up with the trade of Tyler Toffoli over to New Jersey Devils for this player. Like I said before, I think he's just trying to find his way. He's trying to feel comfortable within this lineup. There's a lot of good potential within this player, and some people might be saying that he's gone on the first, second, and third line. Now he's on the fourth line. But I think it's more so about making sure that he feels comfortable enough to make those steps as a new player on a new team who doesn't know English that well. And they're trying to gain his confidence so that he can really shine. He's a former 20 goal plus player, only once. And I think that he has that potential to do that again and be a good middle six player on this team. He's already shown that his defensive play is good, and him on the PK, I thought he's been probably one of our best PK killers, and that's saying a lot when you have Lindholm and Backlund on that on both units. So I just wanted to give him some praise, and seeing the progression within the past 4 games is nice to see, especially for a newcomer on this team. And you brought up AJ Greer. What a great waiver wire pickup. I've been very impressed with his tenacity, his ability to just pressure and be a good fourth liner on this team, and give basically the opportunity for the younger players like now I can't remember their names, who went down. Who's that really tall guy? Gone to the Klapka.
Yeah,
it's very similar to given the young guys the ability to play more than 6 to 10 minutes a game is huge within this league. I don't think that's recognized enough within the NHL. And when you see a young player play as well as Klapka does, who is a big body and has the skill and has the mitts to definitely overperform of what type of player or what type of body that he has on himself is really intriguing, and you really want to see him thrive. But making sure that they're able to play as much as they can and develop more is more important to me than chucking them in the lineup, especially when you have Craig Conroy in multiple press conferences say that there's a bunch of opportunity for young players within the Flames organization to show themselves and make it on this team. But if it's on the fourth line, I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah.
So good on Sharangovich and AJ Greer for stepping up, and let alone Adam Ruzicka. Those are kind of like my 3 underrated players that have played above what we've expected them to do.
Yeah. They've all been really good in their own way. Yeah. We want to rate. I mean, Yegor is a 5th round pick. Like, it's not like this guy came in highly touted. This is a guy that's had to work to get his way kind of fit in this league, and yeah, and they signed him to a pretty reasonable contract, and yeah, I don't. I think I think I agree with you. I think he's been a good find where he is right now, and you can move him around the lineup in potential other places. Now, what have you thought of Coronado?
I've been impressed with Coronado. Obviously, he has his shot, and I felt like even today and in the game against Washington, he showed a bit like more than just his shot, and that he does have a bit of playmaking within himself. There's been a little, there's that hockey sense that has been apparent within the past 2 games. I've been impressed with little passes, 3 to 5 foot passes that I don't think really go as noticed as those long, big saucer passes. But whenever he gets pressured, I feel like he's able to relieve that pressure and pass it off to somebody else who has been open and able to progress the play forward. And I've been decently impressed with him. So, Kev, what you said before, keeping him with Coleman and Backlund, I think, is huge, and the ability to grow his game. And we've been saying this about Backlund for years, is that he is really good with the young players. Ask Mangiapane, Dubé, Kachuk, and his resume is long with how well he's been able to help these younger players. So keep Coronado with Backlund for the majority of the year, and you should be good to go essentially, and help him progress his game.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I would have, if I had my druthers, I would have had him in the with the Wranglers, but I think injuries and circumstances didn't allow that. He had a good enough camp to at least get the start. And I think, yeah, he's kind of, I like where he is. And I think Backlund is just, you're right. I went again, just one of the unsung things that Michael Backlund always does is doing is bringing up and mentoring those wingers like Mangiapane. You're right, Mangiapane. Matthew Tkachuk is not Matthew Tkachuk without Michael Backlund. Like this, I've always said that, and Matt Coronado is going to learn from that as well. So I think, yeah, within the forward group, I think things are looking pretty good there.
Yeah, and do we have the timeline on Pelche? I'm trying to figure it out right now.
They haven't really said. I'm fearful it is months.
Yeah, left shoulder undergoes surgery. So yeah, so whenever the surgery is involved, months are involved as well. So yeah, but it's really too bad that he's not able to be a part of this team going forward as of right now, and progress within his NHL career. But Coronado, I think I don't think he seems out of place. I think that you really are fairly confident that he is an NHL and he will be able to make a difference within this lineup to help the team, and not just be there because he has a good shot.
Yeah. He's going to, and he's going to have to be more of a shot, and I think he realized that. I mean, he made a really nice play on that Coleman winning goal as well. So,
yeah, it's really nice to actually, it's interesting. I understand the thought process on having him, Coronado, on that first power play unit, but when you have Ruzicka as well on that or being able to switch in and out, it's not because Coronado is not good or not playing good enough or is able to be on that first power play, but I think it was more so that Ruzicka proved himself within that Washington game to be on that lineup on that first power play, on the first power play of the game. It really does show the confidence that the coaching staff is going to be giving him, and hopefully he can carry that forward and have that consistency that we were talking about before.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so in terms of the forwards, that's kind of where we're at with that. With the defense, I'm just going to start and just say this. I'm going to start here. And it is because of again, I think it's in part of the magic of Chris Tanev again, who does what Michael Backlund does and just makes defensemen better. But Dennis Gilbert has solidified himself as a permanent lockstep number 6D right now with this team. Like, between him and Jordan Oesterle, I don't think it's close right now. I think Dennis Gilbert has locked himself in, continues to be consistent, and it's not like because he played in his hometown of Buffalo. Like, he is playing really consistently right now, and like, we can quibble on how good this blue line is, but Dennis Gilbert has placed himself as one of the 6. Like, I'm confident. I'm okay that we're Anderson, Hanifin, Zadorov, Uyghur, Gilbert, Tanev.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I thought that he really was. He solidified himself even within the one game that he played as or in the preseason, and it was really unfortunate that he got injured within that game. When that happened, I was a little bit panicked and hoped that he would be okay, and obviously he has been playing the past 2 games. So overall, yeah, I'm with you, Kev. He's Tanev, with him being on that quote unquote even third pairing. I don't even want to call him a third pairing because Gilbert he has the overall game to be consistently an NHLer, and Tanev always just seems to rise or help his defensive partner to be better than he normally is. And not saying anything against Dennis Gilbert, but because I think that he is a number 6 defenseman within this league. But yeah, anytime Tanev is paired with another player, even a younger player, they seem to thrive. So yeah, this top 6 defensive pairing, very, very happy with going forward.
And with I mean, we will, maybe this is for a future conversation, but I do think the Flames. I think the Flames have to sign Tanev in the offseason. Like, I really do. Like, I don't think that you should and I think that there's a possibility that this guy's going to get overpaid. For sure, if he goes in the open market, like, he may be in that Luke Schenn, Radko Gudas, Eric Branson money, but he's kind of worth it. Like, just even if he gets hurt and he plays 50 to 60 games, he's so, like, what he provides for this team is just, it's so hard to replace.
It definitely is. And in order, like, just for reference on your Radko Gudas, right now Tanev is making $4 million. Radko is making 2.5.
Oh, well, kind of that overpaid defensive in the overpaid playoff defensive market, right?
Fair. Yeah, it really depends on, man, all of these signings really depend on what Lindholm's going to be doing. Because if Lindholm doesn't sign, then I don't think Tanev will sign, because he's searching for that cup. He's searching for the best opportunity to win here. And he's 33 years old, but his body is probably more like a 36, 37-year-old realistically. Doesn't mean that he doesn't carry himself very, very well. But yeah, you still have Lindholm. You have Noah Hanifin, Zadorov, and I mean, Chris Tanev on top of that as well, as far as UFA goes going into this next summer. So I think that if you want to be competitive, then absolutely you try and sign him as probably for another 2 years at maybe $4 million or $3 million. The lower the better, obviously. But he is one of those players that you and I both have talked about being a potential captain candidate because of his leadership skills, and we don't even see him inside of the locker room. You can only imagine what he does inside of there. So it'd be very sad to see him go, but it really all depends on the direction of the Flames and where they see themselves within the next year to 2 or even 5. And all of that, I think, is a pinch point on what happens with Elias Lindholm.
Yeah, for sure. I could see Chris Tanev when he retires getting into coaching too. Like I really
It'd be amazing.
He'd be amazing at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Or player development as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, which leads me to I'm gonna say this, and this may be. Do we? No, let's stick with the defense. We'll talk about. I have a hot take coming. I'll tease that, but
Love it.
Overall, this top four of Anderson, Hanev, Uyghur, and Zadorov. I think Rasmus Anderson has been really strong again this year. I think he is elevating himself to be considered a number one defenseman in this league. If you have not already considered him in there, I mean, Sean has had a good laugh at me when I said that he was getting closer to Quinn Hughes last year. But I think that Quinn Hughes had a tough start last year, and Rasmus Anderson continued to grow. And I think Rasmus Anderson is continuing to grow. Is he better than? I'm not saying he's better than Quinn Hughes. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But Rasmus Anderson, if he is not a number one defenseman in this league, he is damn close to being a number one defenseman.
Yeah, I think overall he's probably a 1B within this league overall, because I think the 1As are the top tier defensemen like Akil Makar, Charlie McAvoy. Well, actually, I think he's been probably close to Charlie McAvoy, or closer to Charlie McAvoy than maybe people would agree to. And it's really hard to compare and to try to, like, I can see the both comparisons of where Rasmus Anderson is as a defenseman, whether or not it's a 1A or 1B, but I think he's closer to 1B than a 1A. But I love the argument to talk about him as a 1A defenseman within this league. It can be hard because you have the Norris kind of bias towards it, where if you're not putting up unbelievable numbers like Carlson does, or like Adam Fox or Roman Josi, then you're not considered a number one defenseman. But I think that he definitely is up there with his defensive game, and I guess it's just overall a 3-zoner, a 200-foot game. It's very, very close to put him within that realm. I think you can really say that he is an underrated defenseman within this league and deserves more credit than what he's given.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious ones that are better are like, well, I mean, we'll say Hughes, Makar, Roman Josi, Victor Hedman, for sure. All of those guys, like the pretty obvious guys. Like, he's not in that level, but he's like, I'm just looking at McAvoy's numbers last year, because I mean, he was in that Norris conversation last year. Last year, McAvoy had 30. No, that was 2023. Sorry, 52 points last year. What did Rasmus have? We'll just be curious here. Good podcasting, Kevin.
Hey, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. So Rasmus last year. Oh man, that's this year.
Rasmus last year had 49. So he was in the McAvoy. He's in the McAvoy category.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
And he had 11 goals.
21 power play points, which is good. Almost 50 points altogether. It's hard to find those defensemen, especially a right-handed shot defenseman. So I think that kind of, in my mind, ups his value within that as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think, I mean, I don't suspect that Noah Hannafin is here after the trade deadline. Like, I would be surprised on that. I think that's the one. Like, to be honest with you, I was surprised he got to camp, but he's here, and I think he's been pretty good. But I don't think he's going to be here at training camp. I think, or by trade deadline. I think that is the one guy that I do think that they will trade.
I agree. I agree.
But that to me, like as much as I'm impressed with Dennis Gilbert, I am a little bit concerned about what's after that. Like I think Nikita Zadorov, I love Nikita Zadorov. Is he a number 4 in this league? He's probably a number 5. I would like a better partner for Mackenzie Wegener. I almost would love to see Tanev and Weegar be a pair, and I think they tried that at some point last year. I can't remember, but yeah, I mean, I'm assuming they got to get a defenseman back. I'm not expecting Oliver Shillington to be back, so
I don't either.
Yeah, I think if I think that there's going to be, I suspect they're going to trade Noah Hannafin. I do think they're going to need to get a NHL defenseman back for him as part of that package.
Yeah, I agree, and it really depends on what type of defenseman you're looking for to step up within the organization. Jeremy Poirier, I would love to see him down there. He's only 21 years old, and people are kind of clamoring for him to take that next step and potentially push for a job here. I don't see him pushing for a job for another 2 years, and that's kind of in line with his contract. He has one more year after this one that we're in right now. So if he's able to push in 25, 26 for a job in the NHL, I think that'd be great. Oh my God, I'm going to butcher this name. Soloyev. I think that he would probably be the next.
You got to do what Sean does and just say it fast. Like that's what he does with Giuseppe. You say it fast and nobody will notice.
Shortlive.
Yeah.
Shortlive. So with Shortlive, I think that he could be definitely the next man up, and not saying that he's prepared. He's 23 years old. I thought that he was really decent within the preseason, and then if you're looking for a really good, a decent defensive defenseman, Kuznetsov. I think that he would be able to step up in that or in that role as well. But with all three of those guys being their young 20s, you really want to make sure that you're not going to kind of screw them up long term. So I agree with you. In order for them to, it does look a little scary because I don't think that Osterley is a good 6th or even 7th defenseman. Obviously, he was as cheap as he was for a reason. So if you're able to look on the waiver wire for kind of an AJ Greer type of defenseman, that is a NHL type of defenseman who you're able to, step in and be a good, basically like stopgap, then I think you're good. But Kev, I want to go down the list here of the top defensemen for points of last year, and you tell me if they're a good defensive defenseman. Erik Karlsson.
No, I did not. No, he's not, and he shouldn't have won the Norris.
Josh Morrissey.
Yeah, he's good. I think he's really good defenseman. I think he
Quinn
is.
Hughes.
Yeah, Quinn Hughes. Oh, yeah, Quinn Hughes is yeah.
Okay, I think he's okay. I don't think he's within that. Like I think he's decent enough to get by. Dougie Hamilton.
Hold on. I want to go back.
Okay.
And I'm not saying you're wrong. But would you? Okay, let me ask you this with Quinn Hughes. Where would you put him in the tier of defensemen? Would you put him top 5?
Are we talking about just defensemen in general, where you can have both offensive and defensive, or just offensive?
All round defenseman.
All round defenseman. I think he's getting there. I don't think he's top 5 yet, though.
Top 10.
He's top 10 for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Where are you at with Dougie Hamilton?
I also thought he should have been in the Norris conversation last year. I think he is. I think Dougie is at least a top 20 defenseman.
Yep, I'd agree with that. Brandon Montour.
he's kind of underrated. He's under the radar, but I don't think he's a top 20. I would put him in the 20-30 category.
Okay. I put him in the top 15, personally. I think his defense is underrated, but Rasmus Dahlin.
Oh, we watched him tonight. Rasmus Dahlin is. I think Rasmus Dahlin is a top 10, 15 defenseman. I would probably put him. I think I think it's damn close between him and Quinn Hughes. I really do. That guy's a monster, though. Like, he's huge. You kind of don't realize it unless you actually watch him. He's huge.
Yeah, I have him. I have him as a top 5. I think he's a sneak. Yeah, I think he's that good. His defensive game is very underrated. His offensive game is underrated too, to be honest. It's funny when you talk to people, I don't think they really understand how important he is to that defensive unit. And I think potentially when you think of Buffalo defenseman, you think of Owen Power being okay. Well, he's the next up and comer, but Rasmus Dahlin, man, he's top 5 for me for sure.
Dude, who wins the Norris first, Dahlin or Hughes?
Dahlin.
Let's see.
Yeah, hey, I think that's a good poll question. I'm only going to do the top 10 here, but where are you at with Miro Heiskanen?
Oh, I think Heiskanen is my pick for Norris this year. I think he's so good. He's in my top 5.
Top 5 for defensive and offensive defenseman.
Yeah.
Okay.
If Dallas had Heiskanen during that playoff series with the Flames, I think they would have won that series.
Fair. Yeah, I'd say he's close to top 5. But I'm more lenient towards the more old school defensemen within that, or I guess the more tenured defenseman. Adam Fox as a defensive defenseman.
He's probably top 3.
Damn. I'd have him as a top 10, top 15.
Okay.
And then Cale Makar.
He's the best player in the world.
Yeah, he's top 3 for sure. And surprisingly enough, tied at 64 points last year, you have Vince Dunn.
He is an underrated guy. Like, I don't think he's an elite defenseman. But he's just one of those guys that he does everything right. When he's on, he's on. Yeah,
I agree with you. I think of him more as an offensive defenseman, but when you look at his plus minus, he was a plus 28, along with Adam Fox at a plus 28. Everybody else within that, within what I've said, or who I've talked about, the next best is Dougie Hamilton at plus 23, and then everybody else is in the teens. Man, it's kind of crazy to think of Vince Dunn being a plus 28 with 64 points.
Yeah, I know that Devin, people continued to sleep on the Kraken all year, and then they were 1 or 2 games away from the Western Conference Finals. So,
yeah,
I'm not surprised that people are not aware of how good Vince Dunn is, because I don't think people are aware. I mean, the Kraken are not off to a great start this year, but
no.
But
and then you have Mikhail Sergachev as well at 64 points, and he was number 11 on there. I think that he's underrated as fuck. I truly believe that he should take over that first power play overall with instead of having Victor Hedman.
I think he's better than Hedman now.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I'm just curious when you really think about the top 10 as far as like, okay, you have the Norris talk, and you had Erik Karlsson at 101 points, and then you had Josh Morrissey and Quinn Hughes at 76. I think that it's really interesting to kind of go through those top top 10 point getters for defensemen. And you had Rasmus Anderson at 49 points. And like you said, it was really close with McAvoy within points, because McAvoy only had 50. Well, not only, but he had 52 points in comparison to Anderson at 49. So, and let alone Victor Hedman at 49 points as well. So, you know, I just wanted to go down that list and go through that that procedure, because it kind of does show where Anderson is within that grouping, and he definitely is up there.
Yeah, I do think he's up there too. Yeah, for sure. And I think it's only going to get better for Rasmus Anderson this year.
Yep, I agree.
Let's go. The other thing that has been the hot button topic, and it continues to be the hot button topic, is the goaltending with the Flames. And we had this debate last week, Dan, Sean, and I. I'll ask you, does Markstrom play 50 games this year?
Yes.
Does he get to league average goaltender this year?
Yes.
See, I think he gets to league average goaltender this year, but I don't know if he ends up playing 50 games. And my argument is I think if you play him a little bit less, he will play better. And I think if you get Vladar in for 30, 35, and I think you'll get a better Markstrom. I think they ended up having to overplay Markstrom last year, and I think that was in part of the. I think there's a whole bunch of things that was part of that, but I think probably overplaying Markstrom was in part of his struggles for last year.
Oh, for sure. I guess the contributing factor within that is when/if Vladar is traded. I don't, and this is the catch-22 within this. There's a lot of people, and even I said it on the group chat, that I would love to see Vladar moved while his stock is high. But within that the negativity behind that would be that you have Wolf come up, not play as much, not see as much playing time, which I remember when Thatcher Demko was not being played enough, and he wasn't seeing any playing time whatsoever because he was a part of the NHL lineup, and that was back when you had Halak, and who else was there, Kev?
There was, it was Markstrom and Demko. Then Markstrom left, and there was Demko, Halak, and then they've had they've had Arthur Seeloff's there for a while. They had,
or was it Spencer Martin who was sitting?
Spencer Martin, yes, Spencer Martin, yes.
Spencer Martin. Either way, the goaltenders are supposed to be playing. They're supposed to be playing, and if as long as they're seeing regular shots and regular time within a game, then you want them to play. And yes, Dustin Wolf has proven as much as he needs to prove within the AHL. I just don't know if Markstrom. I think Markstrom needs to have one more year as the solidified number one, playing over 50 games within the NHL for himself, for the Flames to understand, okay, is he what do we need to do going forward? Because it didn't seem like, well, I mean, we all know this. It didn't seem like the locker room was good enough last year mentally, especially with Daryl Sutter at the helm. And yeah, it's hard for me to really figure out, okay, is it beneficial to have Dustin Wolf as a backup or as a 1B within the NHL as of right now, in consideration to leaving him in the AHL for one more year and having him dominate and be able to solidify himself 100% that he's ready to take that next step, and then trade Vladar next year, because Vladar has still one more year left no matter what. He still has one more year left after this year, and it doesn't mean that we lose him for nothing to free agency. So if you have time, use it. Lou Lamoriello has said that for years, and I do believe that is the best route. depending on whether or not what comes back for Vladar, because it sounds like they really want a second-round pick for Vladar, and I think Vladar deserves it, especially with his record last year. There was one analyst that I was listening to, and if you get 15 to 21 wins out of your backup, you have a good starter, then it pretty much solidifies you to get into the playoffs, no matter what division you're in. So, do we trust Vladar, or do we trust Dustin Wolf enough to grab those reins without having enough reps? Potentially. But right now, you have a solidified backup in Vladar. So, man, it's a toss-up for me. I don't know.
Here's where I'm at with this. I think I look at Edmonton as an example, and I think everyone was all right. Stuart Skinner's ready. Let's go. And he has stumbled. I mean, he's had his moments, but he's also had his stumbles as well. And I think that I could see that with Dustin Wolf. I think another year in the A, I think would work out really well. And I don't know if you would get a second round pick for Vladar right now, but I think it's possible that you could get a second round pick trade deadline later when people are kind of trying to figure out this goaltending situation. And the goaltending situation around the NHL isn't great. And I think you need depth. I think I look at Vegas, they needed 4 goalies to win a cup. I mean, even Carolina had to dig in to 2 or 3 to get to as far as they did. So you need to have depth in goal. So that's why I'm not in a rush to trade Vladar. Not out of the realm of possibility that Markstrom could get injured, and then you're in a situation where you're going to have to rely on Dustin Wolf come hell or high water, right? So I would just keep things as status quo right now. And you know what? There's no rush to trade Vladar. There's no rush to trade anybody. I mean, figure this out. Let this play out, and we'll see. I mean, it feels like everybody's in a rush to make this because we want all these trades. And yes, it's exciting, but Tampa Bay doesn't seem to be in an incredible panic that they're not getting Vasilevsky back right away. And it's 8 weeks. They're not rushing to they didn't rush out to get a goalie. They had a few that went through waivers. They didn't pick anybody up. So they're kind of riding this wave. I think everybody just needs to be patient.
It's okay. Look at both sides of the coin here, player development or win now mode. And I think that it's too early in the season to make a knee-jerk decision. Say, for instance, you're not, if you're Tampa Bay, you're not happy with Johansson, the goaltender down there right now. If you're not happy with them, and you have 2 more weeks, which could potentially be 6, maybe 7 games before Vasilevsky is back, then you might want to pull the trigger and try and find out a stopgap in order to, especially within that division, because 6 games, let alone 2 or 3 games, could make the massive difference in the long run for making the playoffs or not. Then you might be able to justify, if you are a team that is not happy with your goaltending situation, to try and swing and figure out a solution there. Because, I mean, right now, Phoenix Copley and Cam Talbot down in LA seems all right now, but who knows exactly what that looks like within the next few weeks.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And the goaltending position is so fascinating right now, and I think everybody's I think we want to see more trades and all of that for sure, but I think everybody's just trying to be cautious and kind of seeing what you're at. And with the cap the way it is, I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa just says, you know what, we'll just wait for Vasilevsky because we think we can get into the playoffs. We'll have a fresh Vasilevsky and we'll take our chances.
And that, to me, that makes the most sense as well. And unless there's going to be another goaltender that's going to go down, or you're not happy. Say, for instance, in Washington, you're not happy with Kemper or Lindgren, then you can definitely see, okay, well, we got to be as competitive as possible as long as Ovi is there, or let alone Tristan Jarry in Pittsburgh. Yeah, you have Nedeljkovic, but I don't know. Jarry's been very mediocre, and maybe just a shade under or over mediocre that he's able to keep his job there. And yeah, they signed him to another, an extension after this year, which was very surprising on Kyle Dubas's part, but obviously he has his reasons to do so. I don't know. There's definitely goaltending within this league that is very questionable, and I mean, Toronto's not too far off of that as well with Justin Woll and
Samsonov.
Samsonov.
And Martin Jones. Yeah,
and you want to count on Martin Jones as your backup, or potentially 1B. Gross. Don't sign me up for that.
It's such an interesting. I said this last week too. I think whoever manages the cap is probably the best. Is probably going to end up winning the Stanley Cup. I think it's one of those things, especially how there's I think 5 elite number 1 goaltenders right now in this league, and everything else is kind of at best tandem. So
yeah. And if you're the Flames, if you have a goaltender like Vladar, hang on to him.
Yeah,
there's going to be someone who's going to be willing to overpay, and even if you wait till the trade deadline, I think that's the best case scenario: is wait till the trade deadline, use Vladar for your backup, and get as many points out of him as you can. As Dustin Wolf is going to be playing in the AHL as your number 1. And then you have 20, 25 games left after the trade deadline. It's a win-win.
Yeah. And even, wouldn't be so bad for Dustin Wolf to go on another AHL playoff run and see how far he gets, right? I don't think he was great against Coachella Valley last year. So, but we'll kind of see. Yeah, it is, but the goaltending situation is so fascinating around this league. It is really fascinating. And I think that's partly why Winnipeg ended up saying Connor Hellebuyck came to that lengthy agreement, because Connor Hellebuyck wouldn't have got that money in the open market, not right now. And I'm not Hellebuyck is a damn good goalie, but nobody's going to pay it when Aiden Hill wins the Stanley Cup.
Well, and that's the other thing, is that this is such a copycat league, right? And you look at Ferguson and Hill there, right? Who won the Stanley Cup? That's why LA's doing what they're doing, and paying less than $4 million for both their goaltenders, which is kind of crazy to think about. And let alone Ottawa with Korpisalo. I don't know what his salary is at, but you have Korpisalo and Forsberg there, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see the transition here. If you don't have a number 1 goalie, then you got to have a good tandem, and especially with the amount of decent enough tandems that are there, and who knows who's going to be good year in and year out. I'd say it's a pretty good gamble that you have potentially 2, maybe even 3 1A, 1B goaltenders. You're setting yourselves up for decent success.
Yeah. I mean, even you look at Buffalo tonight, and I mean, there's a lot of reasons to be high on Buffalo, and I'm generally I'm cheering for Devin Levi, but he wasn't awesome tonight. He had his battles tonight for sure. So
for sure,
yeah, it's you need some depth, and I mean, if you're Buffalo, I think you're trying to make sure you have a bet to land within your 2 young goalies there.
Yeah. Well, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is a good up and coming goaltender as well. So I know they want to.
3 though.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you may want someone over 28 to be as like a stopgap if you can.
I mean, ideally for sure, but I think you're kind of looking, okay, you're putting 60% into Devin Levi and then 40% into Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen to really take the ball and run with it, because even last year when you had Eric Comrie and Craig Anderson here, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, he was really, really good when he was up, but I know that he was sent down multiple times as well. So it really is a crapshoot. You never know what you're really going to get.
Yeah, for sure. The one last thing on the Flames I wanted to touch on is the best offseason acquisition, and to me, it's not a specific player. And it's not the head coach. It's bringing in Mark Savard. I think he has made such a difference to the offensive mind of this Flames. Like he's the power. Like, I mean, first of all, they actually practice the power play, which is one good thing. But they are a lot more imaginative and creative on the offensive side, and I think that's just like when I love listening to Mark Savard talk. I think he's been the best at Flames offseason acquisition.
I agree. It's well, I mean, it's nice to see the different role or the different type of style that they are playing on that power play, because that I know they still do it, but that delayed pass back and bringing in with speed as everybody's waiting in that neutral zone or at the offensive blue line, it drives me nuts, because it just feels like it's such a waste of time, and it's just the zone entry can be a bit messy if you don't have that clear direct line into the offensive zone. Then you dump and chase, and the potential within that is 50-50. So and that was actually, I'm happy with having Savard as the power play specialist and bringing that offensive mindset that is a bit different than anybody else really has. But I do want to see more into that power play, because it's been mediocre, but I can see the potential, which does give me a lot of hope within that power play.
Yeah. I mean, I think they'll have to upgrade their forwards too, because I still think they need one more offensive piece. To find that, and I don't know if they have. I mean, I don't think I think their forward group is mid. But I think they could always improve it. But I think what Savard's creativity is helping improve that for sure. I think
absolutely.
And I think Ryan Huska so far has done a good job. I mean, it's very early, but I think Huska and Savard have been a really good tandem, and it's so far for the Flames in terms of everything. I mean, things seem to be on the up and up. Things there's a bit more commitment on all these little things. And I mean, tonight I thought that was their best game out of the four that they've played. And I think there'll be still some ups and downs. We haven't heard where you have the Flames. Like, I have the Flames as a wild card team, but I think they're going to be battling for playoff spots near the end of the year here. But, well, I mean, I think for the most part, I'm cautiously optimistic thinking about the Flames.
I'm more optimistic than cautious, but I am cautiously optimistic as far as the saying goes. I think that they do make the playoffs. I don't think that Markstrom, because realistically, how close were the Flames to making the playoffs last year? Was it 1 or 2 points?
Yeah, they beat Chicago in one of the second last games of this year. They're probably in.
Yep, absolutely. And I just think that Markstrom can't be as bad as he was last year as far as his league or his career numbers go. And that could be the difference right there, because I think we are potentially better and people are probably going to be laughing at me because we traded our top end goal scorer to Foley for Serengovic. But overall, I'm pretty confident within the team that we have, that Dubé, Mangiapane, even Walker Dewar just being a mainstay on that forward group is going to take that step forward to make that difference up. And I mean, we saw tonight that the tenacity from Dewar, and by the way, once again, Serengovic, I was very impressed with him on that shift. He kept that puck alive. He passed the puck around a few times and was able to make that difference and create that opportunity. Whether or not he was that, the fact that he wasn't that first assist, but he was that second assist that was able to make everything happen. So yeah, those type of players I think are going to make a massive difference within this lineup, along with Markstrom playing better overall. So I see them as a playoff team.
Where do you have them?
It's either going to be third place in the Pacific or first wild card.
Fair.
It's going to be right there.
I have them as the first wild card, but I wouldn't be surprised if they finish third.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see LA because they do have the guns to really potentially be there. It's just their goaltending, like I said, that it just doesn't really 100% add up within this conference. And I do see Vancouver dropping into a wild card. Okay, so basically, since I didn't get to predict where everybody's going to be, I think Vegas is going to be number one. I think Edmonton will come back and be a 1-2. I think Calgary will be a 3 within the Pacific or a wild card position, and then Seattle should come back a little bit as well, but I don't think they're a playoff team this year. Dallas is going to be good. Nashville, I think, is a sneakier, better pick than you would do for a Seattle. I don't think Winnipeg gets in. Chicago should be out as well. So you have Colorado, Minnesota within the Central. I think Dallas will go up in that Central spot too. So you have a really good battle between Winnipeg, LA, Nashville, and potentially Vancouver to kind of be in that wild card spot.
Yeah, so how I did this is for the Pacific, I have Vegas first, Edmonton second. I have the Kraken third. I still believe in them, and I just don't know if everyone else around them got better and made themselves better than them. But I'm early proving wrong. I had Calgary as the one wild card, and then in the Central, I went Dallas, Colorado, Minnesota, and I went Winnipeg, but Nashville is going to cause. I will say Nashville is a team that can cause a lot of chaos, and you get Barry Trotz back there. And you got a really good coach in Andrew Burnett, and you still have Roman Josi and UC Saros. It's still a good team that I think can cause a lot of chaos.
Yep.
But yeah, I didn't have Vancouver in, and I didn't have LA in, and it's because of LA's goaltending that just concerns me. That I just don't think don't see how you get in if you're LA.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. God, yeah, the Nashville Predators, I think, yeah, they definitely have a sneaky good team. If you look at them on paper, you're like, okay, well, where's this all coming from? But Thomas Novak, he took a step earlier or last year, and having him as your third line center is I don't know. I think that he's a good second center or second line center, which having him at the third line spot is really, really good. But you have all these young guys that are just wanting to prove themselves. Cole Smith, Michael McCarron, Oh man, Yakov Tiernan. I love that player. I think he's
Yeah.
fantastic. He shoots it a bunch. He hits a bunch. He's a great penalty killer as well. So I like realistically, they just have role players that I think are able to produce and kind of be the Carolina Hurricanes of the East and or of the West that are able to play as a team and produce as a team as a pair Barry Trotz type of team would essentially. But outside of that, I think that I guess Vancouver. I think Vancouver does have a chance because they, on paper, I really like them on paper. I think they're a really good team on paper, and I think their defense is underrated, and their top six, I think, should be able to produce on a level that makes them able to produce in that, or to push for the playoff spot, along with Thatcher Demko, who is once again, I think, a very underrated goalie within this league.
Yeah, I mean, I think Thatcher Demko is a top 5 goalie in this league. I think, I mean, we've talked about Hughes, Pettersson. I think there's a lot. I just, the thing that worries me with Vancouver right now is that what I'm seeing a lot of top tier talent on that team, and the gap between the top tier and the secondary talent feels too wide to me. It feels like the Oilers of oldish, where you got McDavid, you had Draisaitl, and then everything else under that, it just isn't quite good enough. I feel like the Canucks are kind of in that spot, but I feel like they got the coach that can bring a lot out of them. Like I love the signing of Pius Suter. I think that was just that's a really good signing. He can play anywhere in your lineup. Yeah, I really like him. And I think the signing to Teddy Bluger was good. And that acquisition of Sam Lafferty, I think, was a really good pickup as well. Although there's some Canuck fans that were upset about losing a 5th-round pick, and then Leaf fans were upset that it was not higher. I think that whole argument was hilarious. But
that's so fucking stupid, Kev. It's so stupid on both ends.
I know. Both ends are stupid but hilarious as well. But I mean,
right.
There's an upgrade, but still a gap. That's what concerns me. But I think the Canucks are going to be the Canucks are not going to be out in February. I think they're going to be battling for a playoff spot.
They should be. They definitely should be. If they're not, then something went completely wrong within the season. But Kev, what I want you to do is write down 3 players on a piece of paper, and then pass it over to me of who you really don't like on this team and where that gap is. Okay.
The 3 players that I don't like.
And then if I could see your pictures on your phone, that'd be fantastic too.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I have a very large one of a hot dog on there, if you know what I mean. I'll post that for you later.
Just whip it out.
Yeah, just pretty much. Let's touch on the East, and then we haven't heard your bold prediction yet, but I'll tell you my East, how I see the East. Is I see Tampa finishing first in the Atlantic, even with Vasilevsky out. I just think that they're still so talented that, and maybe rested, that I think they'll end up finishing first. I think I kind of thought Toronto would have some chemistry and get off to a little bit of a rough start because of all the new players, and that's why I had them second. And I kind of went Buffalo, and I have those 3 teams in the Atlantic in. And then I went Carolina, Jersey, Pittsburgh, the Islanders, and the Rangers to get in on the Metropolitan side, because the Islanders always find a way to get in. So, and I had Ottawa and Detroit out. And now Chris, his bold prediction, or one of his 10, I think, was that Buffalo, Ottawa, and Detroit would all make the playoffs. And Sean's bold prediction was Boston and Tampa would not make the playoffs.
Wow. that's hey, bold, very bold for sure. Okay, out of the Atlantic, I don't know who's winning the East. You know what? Fuck it. I'll be a hometown boy. I'm gonna have Toronto win the East overall. So they'll be first in the Atlantic. Then I think you have Ottawa. They'll be second. I have Tampa Bay being third. The Metropolitan, I have. Fuck. Man, I'll have New Jersey number 1. I'll have Pittsburgh number 2, Rangers number 3, and then on the wild card, I'll have Boston and Buffalo.
You had Buffalo. Oh, you had Ottawa third.
I had Ottawa third. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Buffalo in your wild card. Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
think
then you have surprised enough. Okay, Carolina's going to miss. Islanders going to miss. Florida's going to miss just because of Montour and Ekblad not being 100% there. And I just don't believe in Bobrovsky as well. I just don't think that he is what he was in the playoffs last year overall. I don't think it would be too much of Spencer Knight to kind of come in after everything that he's gone through to take the ball and run with it. So with Montreal, Columbus, I don't think Washington's there either. And those guys are going to be the ones who are going to be missing here. And Detroit, of course.
Yeah. And Detroit, yeah. It's especially Atlantic though. It is a scramble for me. I think there's a legitimate argument for really actually. You can make an argument that Florida. I mean, maybe Matthew Tkachuk can carry them all the way through, and Boston still has goaltending. So I think they're fine. I mean, you could argue they're fine, but that division can go anywhere, and I think even the Metropolitan can go anywhere too. I mean, I could make an argument that Jersey wins first in the East and gets eliminated in the first round.
Yep, absolutely. I think the most secured division within this league is the Central.
Yeah. I would say that the team that avoids Minnesota between Dallas and Colorado has the best chance to win.
So you're talking about the the wild card then that's going to be playing the Pacific then.
Yeah. Well, if you're Colorado, I think it's either Colorado and Dallas, I think, are the top two. Minnesota's third, and whoever gets the first and avoids Minnesota, I think that's the team that can advance to the Stanley Cup final. For sure.
Just whether or not is it going to be Fleury or is it going to be Gustafsson backstopping them?
Yeah. And this is Fleury's last year. He may go on a run.
You would think that he would. I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. Okay. So Sean's bold prediction was Boston and Toronto, Boston, Tampa missing the playoffs. Chris's boldest prediction was Buffalo, Ottawa, and Detroit make the playoffs. My bold prediction was that the Edmonton Oilers would be eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. What is yours?
Oh, shit. I think
Ottawa would make it. I think Tyler was. I think Tyler was as close to someone will wear pants.
Typical Tyler. So I think that Ottawa is going to win one round, if not two.
Oh.
So they'll get to the Eastern Conference Final, and I think that I'm with you. I don't think that Edmonton gets past the first round, if not even making the playoffs. I think there might be a bubble team within that as well, even though my predictions said otherwise as far as like the Pacific goes. But I think they have a good chance of not making the playoffs just because of their goaltending.
Yeah, and that blue line is suspect as well.
Even with adding Ekblad, Ekholm on that blue line, I don't think that really saves it, even though that was probably the best deadline acquisition in years, in my opinion, getting Ekblad on that blue line.
Yeah. They still have a lot of work to do.
Did I say Ekblad again? I meant Ekholm. Good God.
Ekholm. Yeah. No, I knew what you meant.
Yeah,
I think you did say Ekblad, but I mean, I heard I got what you said there.
And Brady Tkachuk was a flame. I understand. That's great.
Brady the Flame. Okay, and then we always do I'm going to do the one last question because I just would be curious because I saw this bold prediction on Twitter last night, and I want to hear your thoughts.
Sure.
Does Alex Ovechkin get traded by the trade deadline?
No. I think that's the
Does
stupid
Alex Ovechkin
fucking...
get traded at all?
No, he doesn't. If he gets traded, then I think he really is. You pissed him off. Does he have a trade clause? He's got to have a trade clause within that too.
Well, at the very least, you would tell he would control where he goes.
Yeah, he has a no movement clause. I think that's silly. I think that he wants to be a Capital through and through until he's done, and then he might go play in the KHL for 3 to 4 years and just light that up as well. But I think that he wants to really solidify himself and beat Gretzky's record as a Washington Capital. I think that I guess what I'm saying is that I think that there is a over 95% chance that he stays, but there is obviously still a chance that he does decide to leave if things don't really pick up here. Yeah, I think it's really crazy thought to think of him not as a Washington Capital throughout his entire NHL career. How about you?
I think they are in the position they're going to have to start selling here. I mean, this isn't a good team. So I think I could see players like Tom Wilson move. I could see players like John Carlson move. I could see a player like Darcy Kemper moving. Ovechkin, I just think he's one of those guys. I don't think it would get done at the trade deadline. If it would get done, it would be in the off season. But I'm with you. I don't see it happening. I think he finishes his career as a Capital, and I think they can gain as much getting Ovechkin that point record, the goal record. And I don't think you would get much. I don't know what you would get. What would you get for Ovechkin?
Ovechkin would be a first and a prospect, a high-end prospect. I think that's it. I think it's only two really good pieces within that trade. And I guess my other question would be, Tom Wilson, it would be hard to trade him because he did just sign that 7-year extension that kicks in next year at 6.5. So with Wilson still here, my other question would be if Ovechkin was going to go anywhere, and I know that Sean would be stepping in being like, you guys are fucking crazy because of the cap. But if Ovechkin was going to go somewhere, where would he go unrelated to the cap and realistically within that as well?
I would think Vegas.
Vegas would be a smart pick for sure. I think Dallas would be up there as well. Man, yeah, one of those two I think would be a fantastic pick for him. Hell, I would even say like a dark horse would be Nashville.
Yeah, maybe.
Just because you have Saros, you have Yossi at the end of their careers, and you could definitely see a sniper like that being on Nashville. So hey, maybe that's my fucking prediction here. Instead of within the year, if he's going to get traded, it could be to Nashville within the next 3 years.
Ovechkin traded to Nashville. Okay.
Yeah. I know Sean is just rolling over in his bed, being like, "You guys are fucking idiots." But hey, listen here.
Well, he whatever, whatever.
Absolutely. Hey, I don't know if you saw it, but I gave him the double barrel. So.
Oh, did you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
right here, Sean. Right here.
Oh, did he say something in the chat? I didn't even look.
No, he didn't. He didn't at all. I don't even know if he's listening or watching, but there it is.
Oh, wait. Find someone who will defend you like Kevin defends. Yes. Defends. Who will defend you like Kevin defends Elias Lindholm.
That's right. He sent that about an hour ago.
Oh.
Over an hour ago. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else we need to chat about? Or
other than I don't like Tyler, I'm good.
we'll have to get you two on together again.
Please don't. Just kidding, Tyler. I love you.
All right. Well, Sean and crew will be back on Monday to talk about the Canucks as they wrap up their road trip. So they will be on Monday, and then we are back on Thursday to chat more about the Flames. How do we follow you? You changed your Twitter handle there for a while.
Yeah, I had at shits and fucks. So it was shits with an S and fucks with a Z at the end. But then Elon Musk decided to change my name back to @GordHauser. So follow me on Twitter @GordHauser on it until I have another Twitter handle or X handle that doesn't get shut down.
Sean is Beardy Canuck 03 on all social medias. Chris is Schneids on all social medias. Tyler's TNOBLE on all social medias, and I am KEVOLE on all social medias. I do have a Blue Sky account. You can find me also on Threads as well. And of course, we're on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast, Twitch as well. Devin, good to see you. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for listening, and we will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.
Suck it, Tyler.